American Culture Points Behavior and Beliefs of Canadians and Americans. A list of cultural attributes of Canadian and American people. Americans and Canadians value doing what we say we're going to do. Value. And it is of value, different from food preferences or your favorite color. Canadians and Americans will make a value judgment when assessing how well someone adheres to the idea of doing what you say you're going to do. When someone says he or she will do something, there is an understanding and an obligation that this person has, to some extent, thought about it beforehand, to the point that there is an expectation that actions will follow up the words. If a friend tells you that he will help you move next Saturday, you expect him to be there, helping you to move next Saturday. It is a promise, a commitment, and you've given your word. If something comes up, as things sometimes do, you must give as much notice as possible, with an apology and a reason for the change. What the reason is will also matter. Once a commitment is made, it should not be changed, but can be in extenuating circumstances, and don't make such changes a habit. Similar to doing what we say we're going to do, Americans and Canadians mean what we say. We are quite literal. Telling you that we will be there to help you move next Saturday is not some vague expression of warmth, which should be interpreted loosely. Rather, it means exactly what the words mean. Wording in contracts is important because Canadians and Americans will read them literally. Rent due on the 15th does not mean the 21st. The park being 4 blocks away from the mall means it is 4 blocks away from the mall, not 3 or 5. If we are unsure if it is 3, 4, or 5, we might use a vague statement such as a few, or we might say 3 or 4. 3 blocks certainly does not mean 20. And if we say we're going to buy you a beer next time we hang out, we mean it literally, and we do what we say we're going to do. Americans and Canadians ask all original plan members if they want to add people to plans. Point 3 is similar to point 1 and to point 2. Imagine that you want to hang out with one of your friends soon. You talk with him or her and pick a day that works for both of you. Perhaps there's a little back and forth as you consider if Thursday will work, or maybe Saturday, or perhaps Wednesday. You also discuss which time works best. Perhaps you decide upon Wednesday at noon to meet at the bus stop near your friend's work or school, and you'll have an hour or so together to grab something for lunch. You might not pick the exact restaurant ahead of time, choosing to play it by ear when you meet up, as there are a lot of good restaurants in the area or a short bus ride away. This is a process, and it is a process of talking things out and deciding things together, making plans. The same process must be followed if someone wishes to add people to those plans. That is, if you decide that you would like to add a couple of friends to this lunch, you must first ask the friend you made the original plans with if that's okay. Changes can be made to these social plans that you made together, but the same process must be followed. You need to change the plans together. If you simply show up to that lunch with a couple other friends in tow without having discussed this, that will be violating cultural norms. What was the point of the process of making plans together if they're not going to be followed? It will be seen as inconsiderate, as you did not consult with and so maybe did not consider your friend's feelings or preferences on the matter. It will likely be seen as rude. In social situations, some people may go with the flow once the deed is done, but it could undermine trust in your words or in your agreements. Americans and Canadians have the rule of law ingrained in us. We defer to what has been agreed upon and what is reasonable and right over the dictates of people in authority. If your boss tells you to do something that is outside your contract or outside labor laws and is unreasonable and exploitative, you will judge his or her request against that contract, law, and sense of justice. You will not judge it as simply the right thing to follow by virtue of him or her being your boss. People may follow the demands anyway, out of fear of losing their job. Others will speak out, question their bosses, and push back, or speak under their breath in the break room. But either way, Canadians and Americans know the boss is out of line. He is not above the law, the agreement of the contract, or of what is fair. Perhaps you rent a place with several roommates, and one of those roommates is your landlord who sublets to you. You have all decided upon a cleaning schedule. Your landlord wants you to violate it. We would reference the cleaning schedule and say, no, that's not what the schedule shows. That's not what we agreed to. You would not simply bow down to this person. Same with police. You may express dissatisfaction to the officer or ask some questions. You will probably have to comply in that moment, but you may dispute the situation after the fact. And if the Supreme Court has become activist and is creating law against the Constitution, to the extent people know that this is happening, they will find that out of line. Dictators do not belong in our society. Americans and Canadians have a culture. This last point could be a video all in itself, but Canadians and Americans do have a culture. The idea that Canada and the United States are simply pieces of land for 190 or so other cultures to come and occupy, with Canada or America not having a peoples or culture of our own, is a lie often told these days, but is not true. American or Canadian culture cannot be its own culture, but at the same time be multiple cultures, by definition. An individual cannot act in one way, but at the exact same time act in 190 other ways, with many of those ways contradicting one another. We have a culture, and today we spent just a few minutes touching on it. Much more could be said, but that's it for today's video. Leave your thoughts below. What points of Canadian and American culture would you like me to cover next? If you are an American or Canadian, what has been your experience abroad in other cultures? What has been your experience interacting with newcomers of other cultures at home? If you are not American or Canadian, how do you think these points compare with the way things are done in your culture? Leave all of your thoughts in the comments section below, and have a good day.